We need to be focused on staying the preeminent nation in the world, not this sort of sicking all these IRS agents on small businesses, because essentially that's what it was. And that's the way it was sold to the American public, that somehow they're going to make the rich, who are already paying far more than their so-called fair share, pay even more, was always preposterous.
Another day, another Fox News stooge protecting the ultra-wealthy ruling class and their ability to siphon as much wealth from our pockets into theirs as possible. Now, if Charles Payne here looks familiar, it's because he did the exact same thing just days ago on the same network.
This weird robber baron oligarch thing that they're fantasizing about, and bureaucrats, it just blows my mind. You know, when the so-called robber barons came in, for the 100 years before that, wages were like this. After this, they went like that for 100 years. Oh, when the robber barons came in, life expectancy in America was like this. All of a sudden, it went like this. I mean, there was a positive impact. We created the modern world, and it was the oligarchs who drove that. The Biden administration wanted to handcuff these folks, wanted to slow them down, wanted to control them, wanted to break them up. You know, they took a European approach to this. Well, ask yourself.
Even wanted to tell them to censor what the information on their sites.
They control them.
The message from the ruling class to the American public, broadcast loud and clear through Fox News, is simple. We're in control, and we're not going anywhere without a fight to the death. So cave to our demands or face the consequences, much like how the Democratic Party establishment holds the progressive vote hostage by refusing to adopt our policy positions. The ruling class holds our entire country hostage. Propaganda like this from Charles Payne is critical in convincing so many people to vote against their own economic interest.
Well, it's interesting that when we did his rallies, like the people behind him were like coal miners and like first responders and construction workers. And suddenly he gets elected president. Like, they can't really find any coal miners up there on the dais. You can't really find any first responders, but the most powerful billionaires are up there. The interests of these folks are aligned with the interests of Donald Trump. And that they were working very hard to obscure that before. But I think that it's useful for everyone to see it for what it is. And I don't think that image of those guys standing there in line at that inauguration is going to age very well. In fact, I feel almost certain it won't.
Chris Hayes nailed it with his analysis of Billionaires Row at Trump's inauguration. These oligarchs weren't just in attendance. They were center stage, front and center, flaunting their power and control over our government. Hayes is absolutely right. Looking back, these images won't age well. But the bigger question is, will it even matter? By the time people wake up to the reality of this plutocracy, will the damage already be too far gone to fix?
In this America, over 60% of our people live paycheck to paycheck. Millions work for starvation wages. 85 million are uninsured or underinsured. And over 60,000 die each year because they can't afford to go to a doctor on time. Today, the ruling elite have brought about a situation in which we now have more concentration of ownership than we have ever had before. In other words, a small number of giant corporations have enormous control over our economy.
Sadly, this is the logical end of capitalism and the pursuit of profit at all costs. Corporations continue to consolidate until there is either no competition left, or they draft an agreement with a competitor or competitors to tamper down competition between the businesses so they can socialize profits among themselves.
A small number of giant conglomerates control what is produced and how much we as consumers pay for their products. Unbelievably, just 3 Wall Street firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, control assets of more than $22 trillion. These 3 Wall Street firms are the major shareholders in 95% of S&P 500 companies, exerting enormous control of the largest corporations in the world. 3 Wall Street firms, unbelievable power. And that is not all in terms of what's going on today.
What's even more disheartening than corporations working together to screw us over is just how easily our government has been captured by corporate power.
The wealthiest person in the world, who spent at least $277 million to elect Donald Trump in a Republican Congress, has now claimed complete ownership of that party. And what he is saying is, hey, Republicans, forget your constituents, forget your constitutional responsibilities. If you don't do what I, Elon Musk, want you to do, you're out of office. And I have the money to do just that. My friends, what we are looking at here has nothing to do with democracy. What we are looking at here is oligarchy. This is up and up. Government by the billionaire class for the billionaire class. And by the way, Musk is not only trying to intimidate Republicans, he is trying to inject himself into the Democratic Party as well. He is threatening to target Democrats who are standing up to him and his agenda. Elon Musk was not elected to be president of the United States. In fact, he was not elected to be dog catcher. And by the way, what all of this hoopla is really about, above and beyond everything I'm talking about, is that when Trump and Musk come into power in late January, do you know what their first order of business will be? You think it'll be to fix healthcare? You think it'll be deal with climate change? Deal with homelessness? Well, if you thought that, you're dead wrong. Their first order of business will be to provide massive tax breaks for the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations. So think about it. At a time of unprecedented income and wealth inequality, when Musk himself is worth almost $500 billion, what these guys want to do is give more tax breaks to billionaires and the heads of large corporations.
Bernie's anti-corporate messaging there is so important because look what we saw at Trump's inauguration. The Republican Party is not even trying to hide their corruption anymore because you had some of the richest people on the earth proudly standing there and sitting there to follow along with Donald Trump. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos. And they've probably always been about this life. But it's just now that because Trump has been elected a second time, they're proudly doing it. In reality, they never cared about the little man. They never cared about inclusion, diversity, equity, and building up underrepresented groups. No. This is most likely who they've always been. Okay? So now they're like, yeah, we can do it out in the open. It doesn't have to be behind closed doors. It's disgusting. For Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.